4?
Session 4.
All right, session 4 of the creative network. And you have been twisting my arm basically all day long
Yes.
to get to GraphQL today.
Yes. It would be
Um,
very interesting to see how this works.
sure. So, first, if you want to find more details about what we're doing and why we're doing it and previous sessions and so on and so forth, and one thing we did forget, and by we I mean I, is to get on the chat rooms. So I'll just pop out the chat rooms real quick here. We're streaming on Live EDU and on Twitch. So what I usually do is I'll just pop out the chat outside of the screen, just so I can see the chats and what people are saying and whether people have questions and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And if people do have questions, which they often do, then what we do is we show the question on the screen and answer it. So you don't have to be on any of those chats. You will not miss anything. Um, but still, we like to have both of the chats. So if someone from Live EDU is asking a question, then someone on Twitch or someone on YouTube doesn't see the question necessarily. So we repeat the question and then we answer it. All right.
Cool.
So you want to do a quick recap of what we already have?
Sure. So basically, for the past 3 sessions, we've been kind of discussing as we go how we progress between server side and client side. And so far, we have the basic structure and plumbing for our React client. So we've settled to use React and Redux for our client. And we know that we wanted to use GraphQL, and we've been talking about it in the past 3 sessions, but we haven't started anything. So basically, right now we have the homepage built. We have the components for the homepage, so we have one page ready on the React side, and we don't have anything on the server side. And I think today it seems that again, it's your decision, but I like to see us to work on some of the server side um, technologies.
All right. So
And yep.
thank you for that. So just so we're clear. Th- the thing is this, right? So it's a matter of approach. How soon do you want to go and implement something on the server side? And at this point with the app, that we have just a mock and it's not pulling in data, there's no actions yet, there's no reducers. I would still wait quite a bit before I would even start dreaming about, connecting with the server side or implementing the server side.
Really?
Um, but again, because this is um, for educational purposes, then really there are no rules and it's whatever we want and whatever we're interested in. So Stevens did a lot of work for um, convincing me to go um, with the server side today.
I want to ask you a question. Okay,
Sure.
so while we're talking about this, right?
Yeah.
So since if it's completely up to you, you said you will still wait before you implement server side. So why don't we talk about the cost of prematurely implementing server side code, or what are the risks associated with making this move? So why don't you just share with us, and that's one of the more important thing, right? We're here to learn. So I want to know what holding you back, right? What is the risk of doing so? What are the potential costs
Yeah.
that we might have to pay down the road if we decide to make this move?
Yeah, so I think it's really not a matter of risk versus risk reward type of thing. It's just a matter of approach. Because what you'll see is that once we have the server ready, we're gonna start implementing the communication of the server with the client. And what I'm saying is, if we didn't have a server, we would be forced to work on the client side more, to invest more in testing infrastructure, to invest more in marketing infrastructure, to invest more in thinking about how the components communicate. Um, so,
Okay.
but again, for an app this small, and we can also do it on the server side and say, you know what, we're gonna keep the schemas really, really small. We're gonna keep the
Right.
models really, really small, so then we can mitigate this risk, right? Not
Right.
that I think there's a huge risk, but we can at least, make sure it's not becoming a big risk,
Right.
Um, so usually what happens is that when you go about it in a sort of a ping pong way of, hey, I need this, and then the server side implements it, and then you do this on the server side and the client side implements it, you tend to have a mess in your resolvers.
Like
And
what kind of mess? What do you mean?
a mess in a way that you can see that this schema is not well thought of. So, for example, if I look at posts, then you'll see an n plus one, right? So a post and then a post for each of the comments. For each of the posts, you get comments for that post,
Mm.
right? And this is a clear indication of, hey, the client side is indicating, hey, I need posts and I need comments, and then the server side implements it without really thinking ahead about the schema. So it's stuff like that,
Okay.
that you usually see, but again, it's nothing super super crazy. So I'm down with that. I mean, I'm okay with that. Um, but anyway, what we're gonna do today is we're gonna start implementing the server side, and we'll see how far we go.
So it sounds like basically the cost is we might have a a mess. We might have like the overall schema might not be well thought of. So it sounds like that's like the
Yeah,
potential
yeah,
cost.
I think so. So at our point, the risk is that the client will not be decoupled from the server enough. And when I say decoupled, our client is never decoupled from the server, right? It works only if it has a server,
Mm-hmm.
but its infrastructure is not going to be decoupled enough from the server side. So the testing infrastructure, marketing infrastructure, the the reducers, the connectors, they're not going to be as well tested as they would be if we weren't implementing um, the client side first all the way and then the server side.
Okay.
Um,
Um,
but again,
Now
nothing.
you're talking about it, I'm really tempted to just change my mind and continue doing it in the right way, that whatever you think is the right way.
Well, I mean, we already do it, so um, let's go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna call this window server, and then window here. We're gonna call this window client. And here we're gonna make the creative network server. So we don't have a git here, so we'll do a git init first. And then we'll do an npm init. So the name of the package will be creating network version. It's version 001. Server side for the creative network. Nothing crazy. So the entry point is going to be server.js. Test command is going to be, I don't know, doesn't really matter. Git repository doesn't really matter now. Keyboards doesn't really matter. And this is the author. License is MIT. Yes, this is okay. Okay, so now we have the package, and we should have a yarn. No, we don't have a yarn.lock yet, so because we don't have packages. So now we're gonna add some packages. All right, so we're gonna need quite a few packages from Babel. So let's do yarn add Bubble CLI, Bubble core, Bubble loader. What else?
Express. So is this going to be the project that's also including Express?
Yeah, so that's gonna have Express, but first I'm in
Bubble polyfill.
so and ESLint, and of course Bubble core. Okay, so we are installing some dependencies here. Do I really need the presets here? I don't know. Let's see what we have here. So let me split the screen here for just a second. What do we have here? So we have Bubble CLI core, ESLint loader, plugin for inline import. We have polyfill. We also need the preset. So cd creative network server. So npm, oh, sorry, yarn add bubble preset. Yes, 2015, I want to say. 2015. And stage 0. We're going to also need what? Bubble preset stage 0. And then we are going to need yarn add GraphQL, and then yarn add so this should go in the dependencies, and these are dev dependencies. So yarn add dev dependencies. I never remember how I do that, or how do I spell dependencies. So let me go here. So yarn add. All right. So dev dependencies. Oh, it's dash dash dev. Okay. So all of these are dev dependencies. Oh, no. No. Okay. No. Shit. All right. So first, git ignore. And we're going to ignore node modules. All right. This makes more sense now. And then here, these are dev dependencies. and it's actually missing the stage 0 and the 2015. And of course, I forgot to add those to the dependencies as well. So this should be dash dash dev. All right. So let's see here. Package. Okay. So this should go in the dev dependencies as well, actually. What else do we need? So dash dash dev, we need ESLint. ESLint. What's the Airbnb called? Config.
What do you mean,
Airbnb. They have a great ESLint config. ESLint plugin for imports. We don't need React here, really. What happened? Dash dash dev. This. What happened? Oh, I know what's happened. Okay, this happened. Okay. So now we're adding some ESLint configuration. Sometimes it's just crazy how much faster Yarn is than NPM. Okay, so we have ESLint for Airbnb, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have the plugin for import. We don't need React. So now we need so Yarn add Express. We need Apollo server. Remember that company? We were at their meetup.
Apollo? No.
We're in the GraphQL meetup in the city.
Oh, that was.
Yeah. That's the company.
Apollo server. Yeah. Now I remember.
Yeah.
But
So
I thought we're using Express.
we are using Express. Apollo server is not the Express. It's just a layer for the GraphQL.
Okay.
So you see, we are using Express here.
So Apollo server is for GraphQL.
Yeah.
Just before you continue, can I ask a side question here? Like,
sure. Oh, I
this
didn't add GraphQL, or did I? No, I didn't. Okay,
this
go.
screen splitter, is that the Tmux that's doing it?
Yeah.
Or so Tmux is able to split your screen this perfectly. Okay, fine.
Okay, so now dash dash peer. We need Express. Oh no, sorry, GraphQL. Unknown dash dash peer. Oh, come on, man. So stupid. Okay. So now GraphQL is here, but we also need to add this to dev.
Peer GraphQL. What is peer GraphQL?
Okay, so GraphQL is here as well. What else do we need here? I think we just need some ESLint configuration.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, I think we should be good. One thing is here in the scripts, we need to add a start script.
Okay.
And this is going to be nodemon, which we need to add.
What was the peer GraphQL for?
Just 1 second, I'll go back. And then this is server.js, exec bubble node, right? No, I don't. Come on, I'm editing the file while it's been. All right, so now this is start, and the start is nodemon server.js exec bubble node. Lint should go to what should it do? Yes, lint. All right, and one thing I would copy paste is an ESLint configuration here, just from one of my previous projects.
I want to make a comment here.
Yeah.
So I know you're adding like a bunch of packages here. Some of them are just for utility use. Some of them are not really important. But
Well,
I think
none of them are not really important.
None of them are not really important, which means all of them are important.
Yeah, all of them are important here.
Okay. What does a nodemon do?
Nodemon just like it's like God for Ruby, just monitors processes.
Okay.
So it's easier to start processes with it because it accepts signals better than just doing Node server.js.
Okay.
All right, so now we should be. Oh, we shouldn't. We don't have the server.js yet. So now we're gonna add the server.js.
Okay.
And let's do.
Do you think you can just take a few minutes just to? I'm still kind of a little bit lost on the packages you've added there.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just have a one-line description of what they do, so like I can just at least follow up with that part of the plumbing.
All right, sure. So let's see what we have here.
You don't have to go in detail, but
Yeah, just a sec. Let's see what's it's complain about here. Function expression, prefer or callback. Okay, so this is. Let me just clean this up for linting. So this should be fat arrow, like so.
fat
And
arrow.
the same here. So this. All right. And this is actually complaining about this. All right. So now, before we do that, and before we dive into this, what I want to do is I'm going to do npm start. And what I want to see is curl. If I curl to HTTP, HTTP localhost 3000, then I get hello world, which is here.
Nice.
All right. And if I do here app.get like hello, then I'll do like hello Stevens. Right? So this you see this on the right side here.
Yeah,
It
it's
actually
reloading.
restarted.
Yeah.
So this is something that Node doesn't know how to do. Like when you start the server with like Node like this node server.js, it doesn't know how to do this hot reloading and stuff like that. So it's really nice to have that.
So what's doing it?
It's nodemon doing it.
Nodemon. Okay.
Yeah. So what we have here is an initial working version of our Express app, right? There is no GraphQL implementation here yet. But this is a version, this is Express, like working now with our configuration.
Right.
So
Are you?
it's really nice. We can remove the hello, right, and then do the HTTP here again, and you'll see you get an error, cannot find hello, right? But if
Mhm.
we go to this again, then we get hello world. And you see here, like all the X powered by, date, content type, all of this is like Express, right? So you can actually see what we've implemented, which isn't a lot. But so we started with that. So at this point, what I would do is I would add all of these and say git commit dash m initial working version of Express, um, and that would be that.
Do you
So
think you can
now you wanted to
answer my
dive
question?
into something. So let me know what you wanted to dive into.
Right. So go back to the list of the packages that we've added.
Okay.
Package.json, I think. The
Okay, let's
package.
focus on
So
that.
right. So I think I just want to have like a high level understanding of what these packages do. I know some of it.
Okay,
I
so
know
all
GraphQL.
of
Yeah.
what you see here, bubble,
Yeah.
this is essentially this. So bubble, um, this. So it's
What?
essentially taking new features of JavaScript, new features of whatever, and you can let me send the link to the chat room here.
I can't
Um,
really see the.
yeah, I sent the link to the chat room on Twitch, so you can see that. So essentially, what it's doing, it's like um, what's the name I'm looking for? It's not a compiler. It's a transpiler, I guess. Which basically which basically means that you can use new versions of JavaScript while still being on older versions of JavaScript. So it will turn your version of JavaScript to something else. So,
You
for
can use.
example, if you want to do object dot spread, or if you want to do object dot what's the one object dot assign, right,
Mhm.
or a map or stuff like that. That those are stuff that are still not available in all of JavaScript. Then you can use that and have Bubble transpile it into like JavaScript
Ah,
that is more appropriate, I guess.
I see. I see. So
Right?
basically, it allows us to use modern syntax and modern features of JavaScript,
Yeah.
while it will turn in, you will kind of translate that into older version of
Yeah.
JavaScript
Yeah.
implementation.
Yeah. So I don't know if you remember, but you remember CoffeeScript?
Yeah. Yeah.
So CoffeeScript wasn't, it's not JavaScript, right? It's compiled or transpiled into JavaScript.
Yeah.
So you back, in 2000 what 11 or 12, you could have used fat arrows in JavaScript, and you could use tab instead of curly braces and so on and so forth, right? So that's all bubble here. So there's
Okay.
core, there's ESLint. All of these are like plugins and presets for bubble.
Okay.
ESLint is just a linting process for JavaScript.
Hmm.
Just basically making sure that you're on style, right? So, for example, if we go to the server JS here, and I go back to the initial version just that I took off the internet, and I save, you'll see that my editor will error out a lot of stuff, and this is
Hmm.
lint. So it will tell me, hey, unexpected variable, use let or const, and then it will tell me, hey, I'm missing a semicolon, and so on and so forth. And if I go back to the version that I have now, then all of these go away because now I'm on style.
Yeah. Got it.
So this is, all the ESLint. So this is, I mean, this thing here that is what 13, 12 lines long. is considered a very minimal package.json, and you'll see very quickly when we move forward with the project. Very quickly, we'll add more and more and more of these, as we proceed.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so now we have a working version of
Express.
Express. So that's pretty cool.
Cool.
So
All right.
now we can start by implementing um, GraphQL, right? So first, we're gonna do import Express instead of require. Express from Express, and then we're going to need the Apollo server. So import this Apollo server from Apollo server. What else do we need? We need the schema. So we'll do the schema next. All right.
Right.
So let's do the schema.
Do schema, you mean like let's design a schema right
Well,
now?
no, just a sample one. So now let's make dir called data. I don't like this name, but let's do that. And then we'll go data. We'll call it schema dot GraphQL. Type query and test string type string and then type schema and the query is query. So we'll go back to that, don't worry, okay, before you freak out.
Yeah.
So then we do import. We import the schema basically to our server.js. So import schema from data and schema.graphql. What do we want really? So let's do a const of ports, actually app ports, and have this 3000. And then here, by the way, we're still erroring out here, so we're still writing invalid code. Just so
Okay.
we'll be in line here. So we have the const for app port. What's that? A poll server is defined by never use, and then schema is defined by never use. We're gonna solve that. And then const. What we'll do? We will do a GraphQL server.
Okay.
This is Express, but the function this time. And then
What does this mean? What when
this
you
is
do
what we had
express?
before with the app. So GraphQL server use. This is middleware. And then GraphQL, and this uses Apollo server.
So this is setting up middleware here.
Yeah. This basically
GraphQL.
says, hey, whenever you go to GraphQL, use the middleware called Apollo server.
So Apollo server is a middleware.
Yes. It's a middleware for Express. Oops, sorry. So this is this, and this is this.
Why do we do slash GraphQL? Is that the endpoint?
Yeah, that's going to be the endpoint.
So what does this syntax mean? It means that slash GraphQL will use Apollo server.
Yep.
Okay. So basically, you can have endpoint that uses a specific middleware,
Yep.
and for that endpoint only.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But then, like, GraphQL true, pretty true, schema,
What's
X
missing
import
here?
schema.
Oh, this is missing. So now this should at least. Oh, I have. Okay, I should have a trailing comma, I guess.
No.
So what's the issue here? So import express from express. Import. What's missing? Let's see. Let's stop the process here and do npm start again. So unexpected token import. Wait. So node is 7.5. So what is the issue here? So import express from express. Let's see where it's at. npm start. Let's see. So it's the first one. Import express from express unexpected token. All right. So let's go package. So we have the plugin for import. We should be able to use that even without the plugin, so it's weird. What am I missing? What am I missing?
What is it complaining about?
It's complaining about unexpected token import.
How are you reading this stack trace? Like, I don't understand what this stack trace is talking about.
So we do have the bubble preset of ES 2015.
How are you reading this stack?
Oh, I know what I'm missing. I know what I'm
What?
missing. Okay. I know what, well, I didn't know what I'm missing before I saw it here. What I'm missing is a bubble RC file. And I'm
How do
just
you
going to
know?
copy it from the previous project here. Okay, so this basically means, hey, whenever you have this bubble RC file, it's basically like ACRC and all of the RC files. So now, since one of our preset is React,
What does the barbell RC do again?
just a sec. So yarn add -- dev bubble preset React. So now we're gonna use that. And now when I do npm start, it should start again. All right, so now it's not yet starting. So this is what I'm missing here. Apollo server.
Where are you reading that? Like,
Oh,
Apollo server is not a function.
Apollo server. Import Apollo server from Apollo server. So why isn't it a function? Okay. So now let's see. Package JSON Apollo. So Apollo is at 03, which basically means that this is Express. And then this is Express. And all right, so we do have the server running.
How did you fix it?
So I
How did you?
changed from Apollo server, which was only a function in 0.1.
Oh, it's Apollo
Yeah,
Express.
so it should be Apollo Express. And
Ah,
now,
all right,
if I go to, actually, let me open up an ngrok for you.
right. We still haven't really explained the schema file. Like
Yeah, I know.
what?
One thing at a time.
What? Yeah, I know,
All right,
but I'm just
so
reminding you.
I sent you the link to ngrok. So what we are going to do is open up the server on the GraphQL endpoint.
Open up the server. Okay,
All
okay.
right, so let's
Let's do
go
that.
there. Localhost
I
3000,
I see hello world, so that's actually the
GraphQL.
hello world endpoint.
So
Oh,
Apollo server supports only post request.
really?
So this is weird because this should show us GraphQL. Um,
Apollo server. Oh,
yeah, so
that's
let's
weird. Why
see.
would it do that?
Um,
That sounds weird to me.
oh, I see. It's a different function this time. So it should have. I'm looking at the documentation for Apollo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they have a migration guide from point 1 to point 2. We're actually at point 3 here. Um, so they're saying for GraphQL, you should have a different usage. So they have Apollo Express and then GraphQL Express here from Apollo server. And then they have another endpoint for that. All right, so this should be here, and then this is GraphQL. All right, so now we're seeing the GraphQL.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. But what did you change again? I don't see.
Well, what I changed is I'm looking at the I was looking at the documentation for the migration guide,
Mm-hmm.
and basically it said that for point 2 and above, so you should go to GraphQL. So after the H, go to put an I.
GraphQL.
Yeah.
Why? Oh, but in the GraphQL server.use GraphQL. Oh, I see. I see. I
Yeah,
see.
so there is one here. And then what it is, it's like a different thing here. So they have a body parser, um, from body parser, and then they have the Apollo Express, and schema is executable schema. So make executable schema, make executable schema is part of GraphQL tools. So I think what they did is change the bit of things. um, yeah, so
So
they changed some stuff. Um, and you can actually see in the documentation, and let me post it in the chat room as well for the link. You can actually see that at point one, it was all part of like Apollo server, and then in point two and above, it's like part of other stuff. Um, so they have make executable schema, and then they have add functions to schema, add mock functions to schema, and stuff like that. They don't mention whether the schema itself is different. So that's what I'm kind of, you know, not really clear on whether the schema itself should be different.
sure what you're
Um,
talking about. Different endpoint URL. So what does this do here? You have a slash GraphQL and then you define endpoint URL GraphQL.
um,
It's a bit confusing to understand what exactly this is doing.
so it's not really confusing. What what this is doing is basically attaching the Apollo Express and the GraphQL Express from Apollo server. It's attaching them as middleware to our Express.
Right. So what is going on with the endpoint GraphQL? Because you do get GraphQL
So
server
GraphQL
dot use.
is the final endpoint for the GraphQL implementation, but the um, the GraphQL is basically the graphical interface to communicate with that. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, so you can have GraphQL on one Express server and tell it, oh, hey, the endpoint go to like something HTTPS, www, whatever, right? But for our internal implementation, you say, hey, when I go to GraphQL, give me the GraphQL Express endpoint, the GraphQL Express um, middleware, but the endpoint URL for the GraphQL interface is GraphQL.
I got it. I got it. So GraphQL, the actual GraphQL is not really reachable through the browser. That's when it's reachable, but it give us
No,
supports only
because
post
GraphQL
request.
is all post.
Yeah, right. So a post request. So GraphQL is what is exposed to the browser, right?
Yeah,
Then it will make a call to GraphQL and do whatever it needs to do.
yeah.
All right.
All right. So
Sounds good to me.
now we need to kind of translate this thing into the new way. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna look at the documentation again, and make sure that you know what am I missing. So we have the Apollo server stuff, and we have. So this part is what we're missing: the GraphQL tools and body parser. So let's go ahead and add those to Yarn. So it's what? GraphQL tools, and then body parser. Oh, npm add body parser. So now I can grab those imports here and grab this one here. Oh, come on, man. This should be yarn add body parser. And then we have the port, which we do have, and then make executable schema. But I don't have any resolvers yet. And this is the part that I'm struggling with. Oh, maybe I don't really need the resolvers and the connectors right now. So let's try that for a second. So make executable schema, type def is schema here. And then I don't want add mock functions. So we can for now remove that. And then this is going to be the context here. Okay. So now, if we do npm start, we should see the server again. Oh, did I close it? No, there it is. Okay. Okay, so now we see it, and we actually, if you play with it, you can go to GraphQL and play with a play button. And if we type our query,
Error message must provide document.
exactly. So if you provide test string,
Well, what are you testing right now?
what? Oh, we don't have the thing yet. Why don't I have it? Right. So just a sec. So we have the schema GraphQL, and test string is string. Wait, I'm going back to the browser. So data and test string is null. So why is my test string null? What am I missing? Oh, I'm missing. I'm probably, yeah. Yep. That's what I'm missing.
What are you missing?
So I'm missing a mock.
What a mock?
Well, because we don't have anything in the, we don't have any data right now, so we need to provide mocks. So let's go back here and add mock functions to schema. All right, so mocks is mocks. All right, so let's do this. Let's first change this to schema. And let's import no. So GraphQL dot. Oh, someone asked a question in the chat room. Why did you choose React Redux as your front end? So do you want to answer that, or should I?
You can go ahead.
Okay, so I think So
Well, I
someone
mean,
someone asked a question on the in the chat room. Wait, what the hell? Are there two people in the stream? So yeah, there are two people in the stream. We are pair programming, and Stevens is dialing in through Slack.
right. I'm also I SSH
And
into
yeah, he's also
obvious machine.
SSH into my machine. So we're pair programming, and yeah, there are two people. All right, so this is this.
You haven't really answered his question yet
Um,
about React and Redux.
yeah, so I think this question should be followed up with why not something else, right? Because I think why React is such a broad question, that it's hard to answer, right? I think React is amazing. Um, I I I have a lot of background with Angular, back in, starting at like 1 point whatever, 1.1. I think they really botched it with the whole 1.5, 1.6, and the 2.0 migration. Um, that I think React is just winning client side. It's like winning by a landslide. So someone asks, "Is I'm interested why React plus Rails instead of Ruby plus Rails versus JS plus Rails?" So first of all, we decided not to go with Rails, and we're going with Node on the server side as well. So if you go back to the first um, to the first screencast where we made all of the decisions of what we're gonna use, and all of them are like, um, I guess, flexible decisions or tentative
Yeah,
decisions.
right.
Um, then we said, hey, why not use Rails? And hey, why not use Go? And hey, why not use Python? And the thing is this. I mean, I'm comfortable with all of them. I can use Node, I can use Python, I can use Go. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Um, and but when we thought about it, and Stevens and I, we carpool to work together. We don't work in the same place anymore, but we carpool to work together. Um, so we talked about it more and more, and as we talked about it more and more, we decided that we're gonna go with JavaScript on the server side as well. I think a lot more people will be able to connect with that rather than with um, React and then Rails on the server side or something else on the server side. But it's not a decision that I can say, hey, we chose Node because it's better because X, Y, and Z. We just chose Node because we wanted to.
Yeah. I mean, I can add a little bit. I guess I have a more stronger opinion on not using Ruby on Rails, partially because, given my experience, I had most of my professional experience, I've been working with Ruby on Rails instead of like Avi had worked with a diverse pool of technology. So I actually want to work with something that I'm not familiar with, right? Part of the learning is really about going out of the comfort zone and, you know, and learn, right? So I actually don't want to stay with something that I'm already relatively comfortable with. So I actually didn't want to use Ruby on Rails. So that's my part of the reason.
Yeah. Um, what else? So someone is asking, can you please update the info for your stream? It's annoying to see something amazing is coming right up every time you go into a stream. I'm not really. We will update the info on the stream, but we also linked to the blog. Um, we set up a blog for that. Let me link that up in the chat rooms. Um, so the blog is a better representation than the stream description. I mean, I do 100% agree with you. We should update the stream description as well. I don't know if you're offended by it's saying Rails and we're actually working with Node. Well, I'm not really sure. So someone is asking, what are both of your opinions with React? I've done most of my experience in PHP, some Laravel, but I hear React is a pain in the ass to learn, and I have told to check out Vue.js. So, f- I think there are a couple of questions here, um, but in terms of React JS is a pain to learn. Um,
It was.
okay, I don't know. So anyway, so what I'm saying is this. So React is a pain to learn, and I think it's not really React's fault as much as it is the whole JavaScript ecosystem fault. I mean, you used to be, and I've been developing software for a very long time, and it used to be, hey, you write this JavaScript, and this JavaScript just works. It used to be like document that get element by ID everywhere, and alert, was the highlight of our experience. And the more processing went into the client side, the more complex the client side became. Um, and I think um, Angular took a very different approach than React by saying, "Hey, everything you need is Angular." So I remember when I started Angular, it was they have ng animate and ng basically anything you can think of with ng something they had. They had the model, the controller. They had what was it back then? A service and what was it? A service and a proxy, like stuff like that, right? It's different between a framework and a library, and I think a lot of people think React is a framework, while for me it's a library, and you still need other libraries to work with it. I mean, React alone is not really useful. React with like a state management, whether it's Redux or Mobix or what Facebook had before Redux, which I'm sorry I can't remember what it is. That's
Flux?
where Flux, yes, that's when it becomes useful. Um, I think in terms of PHP, Laravel, the thing is that these days, and again, I mean, for me, it's not enough to know just the server side. The days of server rendered application, I mean, they're still here. I think I think if you still have a content heavy application that doesn't really require a lot of back and forth and a lot of interactions, I mean, go for it. I think server side rendered applications are here to stay. Um, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think I'm babbling on.
I
Um,
think you wanted to say server-side rendering is
no, server.
facing away. That's
No,
what
it's
what
not.
you
I mean,
wanted to
it's
say?
here to stay.
Really?
But what I'm saying is, you don't have to go to React um, unless you really need to. So I was reading your blog. Is an SRE a senior release engineer? No, SR,
What? What is that?
SRE is a site reliability engineer, which is how should I say it? It's a hipster name for DevOps. I basically do DevOps and software engineering. So I call myself a true full stack engineer. I can do the client side all the way to the infrastructure. So cheese steak dude on live edu is saying Rails Node, your pictures are Go. Geez, I mean, I don't know what that means. I just do Rails Node, Go, Python. I just do all of them. So I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. Um, okay, so I think we answered all of the questions. I hope we answered all the questions. If any of you have any other questions, please feel free. Oh, one more. As a software developer yourself, what advice do you have for someone who wants to break into a company? I've done projects for people, but I want to work for a medium sized company. Well, that's a tough one. I think that's a curveball. Um, so here's the deal, and 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 for me, that's the real deal. As someone that interviews people, what is the value you are adding to the company? You have to realize that when you say medium-sized company, at a medium-sized companies, the value of the how do you call it, like the sole contributor or the single contributor, is greater than at Facebook, for example. So at Facebook, for example, they weigh a lot of their decision based on the technical interview, because for them the sole contributor or the single contributor doesn't really matter as much as the system matters. At a medium-sized company, I'm probably babbling on to the point of being unhireable, but but at a medium-sized company, the single contributor matters more. So what you need is to provide value. And what you need to prove is what value do you provide. I think at a small, medium-sized company, the passion you have for engineering, and um, how you want to grow and your hunger to learn and to grow into inside the company matters more than whether you can invert a tree on a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Um, so let me just read the question slash comment here and tell you why I think you're spot on. So my thought process is that at a medium-sized company would allow me room to grow and also not just become another number in the company. So here's what I think. I think if you want to grow as an engineer, you and this was proven to me time and time again over a career spanning the last, I don't know what, 15 years, 16 years. If you want to grow at a company, or if you want to grow as an engineer, whether in a company, out a company, whatever, you need to work under a leader that will understand that their success is your success and your success is their success. So if you go to work at a company and the CTO of the company, VP of engineering of the company, your team leader is concerned more about his deadlines and more about the work that he has to do than how you grow as an engineer, go out. You need to find a better company. The job of growing you as an engineer is the job of the person leading you. And at smaller companies that happens more than at larger companies, because smaller companies they also hire more junior engineers and they take them on as project. They say, you know what, now I'm going to take this person and he's my project. I'm going to take him and I'm going to school him. I'm going to pair program with him, right? And actually someone asked above here before all of these questions, someone asked like, how did Steven and I came to be? Like, how did you start doing this blog? So if you go to live edu, Stevens and I did pair programming um, as part of working together in the same company, and I
Yep.
played this role for Stevens. So I
Yep.
was Stevens. I don't know if you should say team leader or whatever. I don't really care about those definitions, but what I'm saying is his success was my success. So if he learned something new, it was my success. So when he had a project to do something, I told him, look, man, let's just do it together and let's do it with React. And if we're doing it together and we're doing it with React, let's stream it, right? So I think at a smaller company, you can grow more as an engineer, but your responsibility is to ask a lot of questions and understand that you know shit. Um,
Absolutely.
so that is good. So how do I find a leader, mentor who is willing to help you to be successful in a company? And I mean that's the million bucks question, really. Um,
Yeah.
I think I think it's tough. I think it's tough because I think a lot of team leaders don't grow from the point of leadership. They grow from the point of seniority, and that's very different than growing from the point of leadership and being a leader. Um, so that's a tough one. I mean, I don't really have an answer for that because I think it's personal to everyone. But I know when I was a junior engineer, I worked for someone, and that someone put in the effort in me, right? He put the effort in me to points where, sometimes up to like a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I was still implementing lessons that he taught me, right? And we were sitting side by side, shoulder to shoulder, and programming. Back then, it wasn't even called pair programming; it was just called working. But we worked together, and I was a junior engineer, and I basically drank up. I just drank up knowledge, and I just asked a lot of questions and understood that I know shit. And I never really was ashamed to ask questions. I think a lot of people these days are, a lot of people these days, I always sound old when I say that, but I think a lot of people are too afraid to ask questions and are too afraid to say, hey, I don't know this. Teach me. Or, hey, I don't know this. Let's do it together.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Let me give you an example. I haven't worked with Python in maybe 10 years. You know, maybe I'm exaggerating, 8 years, 6 years, something like huge, right? So when I started at the company that I work at now, um, it's a Python shop, right? Most of our services are Python, and I'm like, hey, like, you know, how do I compose a list? It's very different in Python than it is in Ruby. So I'm like going to the architect or to the person that's sitting next to me is on my team, right? I'm like, hey, dude, like, how do I do this? Right? I know I should know this, but I don't. So teach me, right? Or I worked with a lot of configuration management software. So I worked with Chef, Salt, but Ansible was my weakest part, right? So and at this company we work with Ansible. So simple stuff, right? How do I run this command and how do I run this command? I mean, walk me through for an hour. Walk me through for 20 minutes. Let me know. I mean, teach me. And I think the ability to ask questions is 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 huge. I think the ability to ask questions and the ability to know the point where you're stuck and the point where you should be able to figure it out alone versus the point where you should be able to get help. That's where you live as an engineer. And I think that's one of the key things you need to grow. So Unicorn is asking, I think if you prove you're willing to put in the effort, you will be noticed by your peers who are working hard and will accept mentor you easier. I agree with that 100%. 100%. And I think a lot of time junior engineers, they fall into the, hey, I'm going to ask that versus I'm going to think about it. Right? Asking is not a substitute to thinking. It's not a substitute to doing things the hard way. It's a shortcut to knowledge, but it's not a shortcut to just putting in the work. So that's a good one, Unicorn. I like that one. So dengue is you studied to PhD level. So the answer for that, the answer for that is no. I mean, the short answer is no. I did not study to PhD level. If you want the long answer, you will have to ask for it. But the short answer is no. I don't have a PhD. Um, yeah, I guess people will hear the long answer one day. Um, did you see my comment up? Um, okay, most companies will not let you in the door without the experience, skills they want, even if you have created some projects. And again, um, I think for that, so Dengi, I see you just joined the room. I actually answered your question about the PhD level. Let me know if you saw that. Um, okay, so let me just grab that. Most companies will not let you in the door without the experience skills they want, even if you created some projects. So here's the deal. Here's the deal. And a lot of the times people at my position, it's really hard to relate to people at that position. Um, and I'm gonna try to answer that with like my utmost, you know, I just sincerity, I guess, right? And it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard. Definitely, whether you're in the Bay Area or not in the Bay Area, right? So people are like, why would I take this guy, right? He just did one project with Node.js. He just did this one Python project. Um, so why would I take this guy? And again, I think the matter of showing the value and showing that you can provide value in a short period of time is what matters. I don't give a shit what project you did. Seriously, like when I interview someone, I don't even ask technical questions. I don't. Um, what I ask is like, hey, let's talk about this architecture problem and let's think about it together. Let's think about it together and let's see if we can solve it, right? And the thing is, it's not solvable, right? It's not solvable. It's not saying, hey, I solved this shit, right? It's saying, let's think about this together. Let's feed off each other and let's see if there's a process here. And if there's a process and the company sees a value in you, then there's a value there, right? And if there's a value there, then you're hireable. So someone is asking, oh, Dengi, you should be a great mentor. Thank you for that. So what's your highest academic qualification? And the answer to that is short. I finished high school, but that's about it. I don't have a GED or even close. And I never went to college, and I never learned computer science. So someone is asking, is he reading from another chat? And yes, we are live streaming to Twitch and to live edu at the same time. So what I'm doing is I'm reading off the chat, so you guys on live edu can at least hear what the chat is. And I'm answering that. So yes, I am reading another chat. So just the same way as now that I'm answering you, someone on live edu is missing the conversation. So that's why I'm reading the chat and answering. So Dengi, I hope that answered your question. I mean, I'm just yeah. Um, so yeah, just high school. I did not learn computer science in high school. I am self-taught, and I started when I was 12 years old, 12 to 14 years old, I guess. Um, yeah, And thank you. So someone asked, can you respond to the comment about startups and technical ability? So I'm just gonna read that question. So Unicorn is asking or saying, I don't know at this point, it's like a wall of text. So let me just read it. I've seen lots of developers talk a big game and say that they are going to do this and that. When it comes down to if they don't do what they say they were going to do, or they barely even try to come to a decent solution, yet they want all the attention and expect their peers to mentor them without even asking. Personally, after enough time of seeing developers do this over and over again, I believe they don't belong on your team. I've seen lots of this in the Bay Area and really pains me to consider them my peers. Um, I think that's way above my level. um, I, and again, I think it goes back to what I said. You can talk the talk, right? You can, and I think a lot of people that do technical interviews, they are afraid of the people that can talk the talk but can't walk the walk, right? That's a huge problem. People that are overselling and under delivering. It's a problem. Um, what I'm saying is that problem is showing its face quickly. And like I said before, if it's asking questions and getting help, it's not a substitute to getting work done, right? It's not a substitute to doing doing hard things. It's not a substitute um, to thinking, right? Um, yeah, I think I think I spoke quite a bit, quite a bit.
There were a
Um,
lot of questions today.
yeah, a lot
This
of
is
questions.
this is the
So,
most amount of question I've seen ever since we started doing this.
yeah, yeah. I guess you know people are like excited, so I'm excited to answer those questions. Um, so the last questions I see here is from Dengi. What drove you to IT? Um, I think um, so.
We were just too.
Someone is asking me to do a comment about startups and technical ability and asking me to scroll up. So if you can just paste that here, it would help a lot. So just paste that because the scroll is too big for me to because I'm looking at the chat in the small screen. So that Dengi asked, "What drove you to IT?" Um, so first of all, I started like I said when I was 12 or 14 years old, and back then it wasn't even called IT. I mean, I didn't know it's called IT, right? I was like a kid, and it was. You know, it's like reminiscing now. I feel so old, but I remember it was like a like this little pamphlet, like this little brochure about building websites. And I was like, wow, like I can build a website and put it on the internet. Back then it was like dial-up modem and stuff like that. So for me, it was a creative outlet. It was still is a creative outlet, and I absolutely fucking love it. Um, I you know, it's like it's not for nothing that I'm like here at 11 p.m. not being paid for this, and you know, doing this. I'm like, I love this shit. Um, so it's a creative outlet. It's just like I'm fed by the challenge. Um, so another question is, I have thought about joining a startup, but I feel like a lot of startups fall out, and there is a greater chance of failure than going with an established company. You said that you didn't care what project a developer worked on. My comment that creating a great project using APIs or employing algorithms show your technical ability, wouldn't you be interested in knowing if the guy is able to code? So here's the deal, and again, this is like a disclaimer, right? The opinions I say here are mine and mine alone, right? Not of my employer or all employers in the Bay Area. Um, and to me, the technical ability of whether you wrote an algorithm or you worked with a third party API, it doesn't really matter. Um, and again, that's to me. To me, I want to know more about whether you care about performance stuff, whether you even know what to care about, right? um, Whether you care about the n plus one problem, whether you even know about the n plus one problem, whether you care about cache, don't care about cache, what are the challenges of cache? Why are you caching? What are you caching? Why would you be caching this? What are the risks of caching this? To me, that's much more important than writing the code. It's much more important than the syntax. It's much more important than whether you know Ruby or you don't know Ruby, whether you know Python or you don't know Python. It's the aspects of the holistically looking at engineering and understanding that the person in front of me, while still maybe lacking the experience, has the potential of being a good engineer. I guess that would be my answer. Um, I think so. I think there is a comment here. It's the why versus how. So I think the how is less significant. I think the why and what and who and who do you ask and the process of you thinking about it is way more important than the how. Way more important. Um, so here's what I usually do, right? What I usually do is I take a problem that I care about, right? Take a problem that I care about, a problem that's bugging me, a problem that's sitting on the back of my mind for a month. I haven't been able to figure it out yet. I haven't been, banging my head against the wall enough yet. And I'll put it out there. I'll put it out in the room, and I'll say, "Hey, what do you think about that?" And let's not be hypothetical. Let's talk about a problem, right? So, let me give you a problem. Okay, so we want to create an API that will give you reviews, right? Reviews about hotels. I don't know. Reviews about restaurants, right? And I want the reviews to live in the database, but I want who can get what reviews or who can get the number of characters in the reviews. How would you implement a system like that? How would you go about implementing a system like that? How would you go about thinking about a problem like that? What are the risks of data leaks? What are the risks of someone crawling your API? What are the risks of someone overusing your API, abusing your API, so on and so forth? I think for me, a question like that will show more about you as an engineer than whether you're starting to implement that. You get to the point where you write a SQL query and you get stuck, and it's an interview process, so you're already stressed, and then the interview process is over because like you haven't done shit, right? That's to me is more important. Yeah. So someone is again JT J Tyrone or Tryon is saying that is good to know because I get asked a lot to be really sharp at algorithms or being able to whiteboard at a technical interview. I'm also asked a lot of the time to go through problems in cracking the coding interview. Dude, all honesty here, I don't know if I pass in a technical interview. Seriously, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, I've been in this, career for 16, 15 years. And I don't know, I passed a technical interview. I probably won't. Um, I think it's abuse. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous abuse. Um, Cracking the coding interview, I've seen that. I've seen like GitHub repositories with hundreds of links of doing, you know, just stuff, and I just don't believe in that way. I just don't, and I think I would fail a technical interview. Um, so another question, and I think this should be our last one. Um, so someone on Twitch is saying that I agree, although seems like the minority. And first of all, thank you for agreeing. You don't know how much that means to me. Um, and yes, I agree it's the minority. I agree it's the minority. But all I can be is be myself, and I just cannot bring myself to interview someone at a technical level of a coding interview or a whiteboarding interview that I know I wouldn't feel comfortable with it myself from the other side. And I think there are a lot of people like that. A lot of people like that. And again, it's like it's when you're starting off, it's really, 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 really hard. Really, really hard. And again, I said that a few minutes ago. I said for people in my position, it's really hard to relate to people that are more beginners, that are more like need to prove something to someone, right? When you come with credentials, it's easier. When you come without anything, with like a blank page, it's harder. It's harder. And if you, as an interviewer, you don't know how to assess someone, then your default would be to ask him a technical question. And it's like so made up, man. It's so made up. I'm just don't even get me started. Seriously, don't even get me started about technical interview. Um, unless you're working on a real problem, right? If you are working on a real problem with a real editor that is your editor, right? It's you know what? Let me show you something, right? This is Vim, right? This is Vim. This is Tmux, right? This is how I work. All right? This is how I work. This is my keyboard, right? If I'm interviewing, this is how I'm interviewing. If you want to interview me in a different way, I'm not interviewing for you, right? Now, again, I have that privilege. And, I'm very lucky to have that privilege. And I am thankful for that privilege. And I worked hard for that privilege. Um, what I'm saying is if you as an interviewer don't give that minimal privilege to the people you're interviewing, it's wrong. It's just plain out wrong. Let's work on a real problem. Let me find the bug. Let me write the test. Let me solve the problem. Let me write the Terraform infrastructure part. Let me do something that is real with like a real environment, right? I mean, I'm not ashamed to open Stack Overflow. What was it? I mean, what was it a second ago that I was missing like an import thing? A simple thing. I was missing a bubble RC. Would you fail me for that as an interview? Come on, man. I mean, seriously. Let me use like an environment that I'm comfortable with, and don't make me write pseudocode on a whiteboard. And I've heard people saying that pseudocode doesn't even cut it anymore. That it should be real code on a whiteboard. What?
Yeah, that's the way they do it
What?
nowadays, apparently.
No, man. No. No. Um, all right. So, last question, I hope. Well, I don't hope because I don't like answering the question. I like answering the question. It's just that we wanted to implement the GraphQL to the point where we have at least a mock. But let's try to answer that last question. So first of all, Atmosphere 1C, the people you interview are lucky. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Um, he doesn't have the academia mindset. No, I don't, because I never went to academia. Never, ever in my life. I taught in academia, but I never went to academia. So I can't have the academia mindset. Um, Never have, never will. Cross my heart and hope to die. Okay, so last question that we have here so far. Um, what are 3 things you look for when hiring a developer? This will be my last question. Thanks for taking the answer. Thanks for taking the time to answer all of these. It's been a great advice for an aspiring developer. So first of all, you're welcome. I mean, this is why I do it, right? This is why we stream. Otherwise, I would just pair program with Stevens alone. I've done that a lot. Uh, we've done that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't like questions for top 3 or what are 3 things you're looking for at an engineer. Here's what I am looking for though. I'm looking for problem solving ability. I'm looking for question asking ability, and I'm looking for resourcefulness. Um, I think if I have to find 3, those are the 3. Definitely, those are the 3, and they will always beat, always beat your technical ability at this specific moment, because in a month, it's irrelevant. And I don't hire you for a month. I hire you for a year. I hire you for 2 years, 6 years, 5 years. I don't hire you for a month. You know. Um, all right. So let's continue. Oh, another question. So can you explain resourcefulness? So it's a really hard to explain, I guess. It's kind of an intangible thing, but you need to solve problems, not sometimes not in the way they show they face in. Let me try to rephrase that question. So sometimes a problem which will show itself in one way, but it's actually not there. It's like so far not there that it's not even in the same zip code. I'm trying to find an example for that. All right, let me. You know what? Let me give you an example for that. So let's take a software. Um, let's take a software enforced timeout of 1 second. So let's say you have an API and you have a client for that API. And right now we're talking the server side world, right? When I say client, I don't talk about React. I talk about like a server client and a server, right? So you have a client and a server, and the client has a 1 second enforced timeout on the calls to the server, right? It's a pretty common thing in a microservice architecture. A client is calling the server is returning a response, and you're good and you're returning the response to your client. Nothing crazy so far. So suddenly you start seeing timeouts, right? And you never saw them so far, right? You never saw them. Yeah. So you're going to the infrastructure level. You're saying, hey, did something change in the network? Or did something change in the database? Or did something change here? Or did something change there? And a lot of the times, your initial um, your initial hunch is wrong. So resourcefulness in this matter means I, as an engineer, should be if I have access to it, should be able to tell you what the problem is across the entire stack, right? I shouldn't just be telling you, hey, I have this problem. I should be telling you, hey, I have this problem. The problem is talking to this service at this endpoint, and it is because this service used to query 1,000, now it's querying 2,000. That's the default. Here's the commit message that gave me this default, right? And this is resourcefulness, right? This is resourcefulness at its best. It's looking at the problem and going deep into the problem until you understand what the problem is before you start talking about solutions. To me, that's resourcefulness, right? To me, that's looking at the problem holistically and saying, I have a timeout here of 1 second, right? I have I have this timeout, and suddenly I'm getting this timeout, getting this timeout, getting this timeout. I'm not gonna increase the timeout, right? Because that will fix the problem. It will. I swear to God, it will. So if you increase the timeout from 1 second to 2 seconds, it will fix the problem. And someone will accept your Jira ticket or your pivotal tracker ticket or whatever something you're working on, right? Someone will. But resourcefulness means that you need to look into the problem deeper than your actual problem domain. And oftentimes you will find the problem way deeper than what you thought, way deeper than your specific timeout, or way deeper than the specific service you're querying. It's a missing index in the service you're querying, and you can prove that. And if you can prove that, you can add that index, and so on and so forth. So that's resourcefulness to me. That's hard to interview for in a technical interview, very easy to interview for in a personal, like one-on-one interview. So another question here is, I might add before I go that I'm in my mid 30s. Do you think age is a barrier in development? It's an important one. So first of all, what's the day today? Is it the 20? So it's the
April
20.
20.
So yesterday I was 35 years old. So I'm in my 30s too. I'm in my 30s. I have 3 kids. I have 3 kids, 7, 5, and 18, 19 months old, and I'm a competitive elite cyclist. So, age doesn't matter. Your family life doesn't matter. Nothing matters other than your ability to deliver. That's it. You can be 40, you can be 50, you can be 20. It doesn't matter. I think a lot of the times, the younger you are, the worse you are, and it's not a matter of even experience. It's a matter of age and maturity, and it's just things that I know today as a 35-year-old are not things that I knew as a 20-year-old. Not even talking about like the how broad my knowledge is today, but how I know how to talk to people, how I know how to respect people, how I know how to respect my peers, and so on and so forth. So, no, nothing is a barrier. Nothing. Absolutely fucking nothing. Nothing. Other than your thirst, your absolute animal thirst to knowledge. Absolutely fucking animal thirst to knowledge. It's like you cannot ever, ever, ever rest. Ever. You always learn, always develop yourself, always learn something new, always. I don't know who Paul Rubens is. So someone is saying not trying to be mean, but you look a little like Paul Rubens. I don't get. I don't know. I have no idea who the fuck this dude is. Let's see. I hope he's not ugly because then I'm gonna be. Okay, I don't know. Okay. Okay, I'll take it. Okay. I'm not offended or thinking you're mean, but sure. I don't think I look like this guy, but sure. Um all right. So, someone is saying it's hard for me to read this word, but succinctly put, I've heard that before, but I also hear once you hit 40, it's hard to get hired anywhere. So, here's the deal. If you're 50 and you're flexible and you still have the mind, and I'm not even talking about having the young mind, but you're not in your mind. You can still hear criticism. You can still hear criticism without put it in the context of why is this 30-year-old telling me what the fuck to do. If you can hear that criticism in a way that is constructive, then you will get hired. If you hear this criticism and you like this, right? Then you will not get hired. You will not get hired. If you can demonstrate a flexible approach to life in general, doesn't because it's all teamwork. It's all teamwork. You're not like in a freelance working out of like your home office. Like I'm saying that while working in my home office and being a freelance for the last 12 years, but you work in a team, and the tendency not to hire older guys on, in my opinion, is based on the fact that it's harder for older guys to work with younger guys. Um, so that's the thing. So someone is saying, isn't age discrimination illegal? So it's 100% illegal. But I mean, who's gonna say, hey, I didn't hire him on account of his age, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, who's gonna say that? No one's gonna say that. No one's in the right mind is gonna say that. You made up something, right? You say, hey, I didn't hire him because he didn't have the credentials. I didn't hire him. You don't even to explain. You don't have to explain yourself, right? It's so hard to prove that you didn't get hired on age that this illegal thing, it's irrelevant, right? You can't get hired at Google if you're over 40. I don't give a shit. Never want to work for Google. Don't work for Google yet. So that's their loss, right? But again, a system this big is a system. Um, you can't beat that system. All right. So the huge takeout from today is that I look like Paul Rubens.
All right.
Do I? No, I don't think I do. Come on, man.
No, man. Paul Rubin looked like an Asian to me.
No, I don't think. But anyway, doesn't really. Thank you. Okay, so you're so much loaded. What does that mean? Someone told me you're so much loaded. Um,
Means like you look like you're rich.
no, I don't think so. I'm trying to parse what this means. Dengi, if you can explain, then that will be great. Okay, so what kind of application are you working on? This blog post has all the information, and I'm gonna. Emulatable. What's emulatable? Oh man. I guess it's a. Sorry, man. I'm stupid. Thank you, man. I guess it's a compliment. All right. So let's try and at least finish the. Um, let's try and finish. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Um, I appreciate it a lot. Um, so let's try and finish the the mocking so we can query um, the mock. All right.
Where did we leave off?
So someone is asking on live ed, oh sorry, on Twitch. um, that can I work on it too? So of course you can work on it, and it's open source. If you want to work on it, go ahead, work on it. Submit a pull request. If you want to join us in the pairing session, you can do that too. Just shoot me an email and let me know, and I'll put the email in both chat rooms. Feel free to email me, tell anything, feedback. If you want to join the stream and code with us, then we'd love it. Um, if you want to do something else, then we'd love it too. Just email me, let me know what you want and what you think, and we'll go from there. All right, so let's try and do a mocking thing. All right. So let's see. All right. So we have this thing here, and then we have the add mock function to schema that we wanted to add. And that's the one here. So schema is executable schema. Mocks is, let's do this mocks. And then we'll import mocks from data mocks. And all right, so this doesn't resolve, which obviously is okay. So yes, we are. Someone on Twitch is saying you're doing Node. So yes, we're doing Node, but we are going to be using Go as well. We actually have. I actually have on Live EDU and on YouTube. Let me post the YouTube channel. I'll post the YouTube channel. I have a lot of live streams that I've done alone, not not with Steven's pair programming, but I have a lot of videos, as you can see here. So this is Golang, for example, updating multiple APIs. So I've been doing Golang here. So if you're more interested in with Go, go ahead and watch that. It's about 2 hours of doing TDD with Go. There's also DevOps like Puppet, Mesos. Yeah, there's quite a bit. So if you want to watch, then go and watch that there. All right, so we have the mocks here. Now let's go ahead and declare our mocks. So this is going to be a part of data and then mocks.js. And we need to mock the query.
What is mock? Is that like
It's a fake.
just a static data, fake data?
Fake. Okay. String and so this is our string from the mocks. So someone, while I'm typing, I'm seeing on the back of kind of the left side of my face, I see TDD definitely takes a different mindset. So 100% different mindset. I do 100% TDD 100% of the time. And you'll see that if you continue watching this video, you'll see that. And Ansible versus Salt versus Puppet, you should probably add versus Chef. And I'll tell you right now, it doesn't really matter. Whatever the company is using, use that. Doesn't really matter. They all have their problems and they all have their advantages. Doesn't matter. I think the most confusing of them all is Chef, just on the fact that attributes is like 5 levels of abstraction, and you never know what override means and will override really do what I want it to do. But Ansible has that too, with like group vars and vars with the meta role and vars not from the meta role. Doesn't matter. All of them are great. I work with Puppet a lot. I work with Ansible a lot. I don't work with Chef anymore, but up until a month ago, I worked with Chef. Not a month ago, but 2 months ago, I worked with Chef for 4 years. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter at all. All right. So now this is gonna be our mocks, and then export default mocks. So this. Oh, yeah, that's wrong. What does it say? Oh, it's trailing comma. Okay. So single quotes. What are you complaining about, man? All right. So now, if you go to the GraphQL endpoint, you'll see that if you execute the query again with a test string,
what are you executing now?
So I put in GraphQL, I put
Test string. Okay.
Yeah, test string, and then I see this is our string from the mocks. So yeah, trailing comma is like the worst. So for the trailing comma, I know I'm not supposed to have a strong opinion of that, but here's the deal, right? If you don't have a trailing comma, right? Let's say you have this code, right? And now someone committed this code, and this code is a month old, right? And now someone adds here, he adds like a boolean here, right? But he adds a comma here because he also, added a line under that. Now the git diff is 2 lines instead of 1 because the comma was there. Because the comma wasn't there. If the comma is there, the diff is only going to be the line you added. So just on the first glance, think about if you added, I don't know, 20 lines of code. Just on that alone, I like the trailing comma. And actually what I love about Python is that it allows you that natively to have a trailing comma in objects. So a trailing comma should I shouldn't have such a strong opinion, but a trailing comma is pretty nice. You don't appreciate it until you review a shitload of code. Okay, so test string, and then this is our string from the mock. So at this point, it's already 11:30, so we can do git add, and we can do git commit, and Apollo working.
What before you go? What do
Yeah.
you? How come I can't do it from MRock? So you're doing test string. Can I see your browser? Go back to your browser again.
Yeah. So I do test string as an object from the GraphQL interface, and just do. Just
Test.
add this after the address line. Let me send it to you. So after the so this after your ngrok link.
Okay. Try that one.
Yep.
Why do you have that query equals to this? Well, I have one too.
So if you just do click play, then you'll see that. All right. So at this point, we committed the code, and we have a working version of GraphQL. Right? It's still mock data. So for the next stream, But before we actually move to the next stream, let me create a repository for this. And we will post it in the chat room, and you will post it tomorrow in your blog post.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just push that. So, all right. So I created the repository on GitHub, and let me push it. All right, and I'll post this link to the chat rooms. Star it, fork it. It's open source. Do whatever you want. And oh, all right. So we now have this online and posted it to the chat rooms. So someone is asking, you don't like IDEs, and the answer for that is, it's not that I don't like them, I just don't find them useful. Yeah, I just have what I do is I work 100% of the time unless I need to look at a CSS or some sort of interaction with the browser. I do all of my coding in the terminal. So I do coding in the terminal, and then I can split the screen and run commands here, and then I can split the screen back up, focus, split another one. I also run the test this way, and yeah, I mean, no, I don't use an IDE, and I agree with one of these comments is that Vim is an IDE. I mean, you can make it an IDE, but all right. So, any final questions in the chat room? Today was active. today it gave me a run. Gave me a run. So yeah, I'm using Tmux. I do have. Let me see. I do have a blog post about my development workflow. Here. So if you want to go check that out, it's a post from 2014. Wow, like time flies. And my workflow is not 100% that, but it's close enough. So it gives you an idea about what do I do. And yes, I use Tmux. And another question is, will you use TypeScript for the front end? And the answer to that is like, it's up to you guys, the viewers, guys and gals, obviously. So if you want me to use TypeScript, then I will use TypeScript. Another question is, do you still work at Globalities? And I started at March in Globality. So yes, I still work at Globality. It's fairly new. Yeah, I still work there. It's incredible. Any other questions? People in the chat room. Stevens.
Nope, nothing from me.
All right. So, what did you think about today's session? What was the exciting part for you?
I think it's really good that we got started on the GraphQL. Now I'm starting to see how it works, in real code, which is the
Well,
first
we
time
haven't
for me. So.
really, in all fairness, we haven't really took a dive in it, right?
Right.
We just have one schema here. Oh, sorry, that's not the one. That's the client. I wanted server. Um, so here we have like the schema. It doesn't really tell you anything yet, but we'll figure it out, right? Because here's the thing, right? So you have the test string, and you say here return string, and here in the mocks you say hey string is actually this. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
you can actually see what it does, right? You say, hey, I'm querying for test string and
Mhm.
I need to get back string, right? And in mocks, you say, hey, string is actually this part.
So this string is actually referring to a variable that it
It's a,
pulls from the mocks.
it's, I wouldn't call it a variable. Let's not
Oh,
dive into that now.
okay.
It's not really a variable, right? Let's just
Okay, let's
tell
take
that.
maybe the next session. Let's dive into a little bit more of how this mocks kind of communicate with the schema right now, because that's the part where I'm not really 100% clear yet.
Okay, so
Um,
we'll
so
work
so
on
next.
that. So we will also post again on the blog. Let me show the blog here. So on the blog, and I will tag again. I will post the link to the chat room again. Sorry for scratching my eye. So we will post tomorrow the blog, the post about today, and we will try. What did we do this week? We did Monday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Thursday.
Monday and Thursday, I
All
think.
right, so let's do Monday and Thursday next week as well. We're doing Monday and Thursday, but again, you don't have to watch it live. You can watch it on YouTube later. I posted the link to the YouTube, um, and um, and next time what we will do is we'll implement the server side for the cards. So we'll have I wouldn't call it a card model, but we'll have like an item, and then item will have a title, it will have a description, it will have like tags, right? So we will
Mhm.
implement that on the server side. We'll select the database. We'll implement the schema. We'll query the schema from the GraphQL interface, all right, from here.
Okay.
Um, and if we get a chance, and I doubt it, especially if there's a lot of questions like today, then we'll also query that from the client side and at least show something. But I doubt that will get to that. So ID 32 asks the question, what kind of database? The answer to that, again, it's like it's flexible. We can do Mongo, we can do Postgres, MySQL, um, whatever. Another question is, are you using Bootstrap 4? And I think I'm using Bootstrap 3 here. Um, we can actually check. So if we go to the client side, Um, I have Bootstrap, so SRC styles, Bootstrap, yeah, 3.3.6. Um, have you tried Material Design? I have. I have tried Material Design. Um, this is really like this design here. We we said it on the previous theme. We just bought on the previous stream. We just bought a theme. It's not like we designed it or anything like that. I think the implementation details about design and about CSS for this specific screencast, for this specific product is not relevant. Here, what we focus more on is the GraphQL part, the server part, and the client part with with React and Redux and all the kind of how they communicate. So we know whether it's Bootstrap 3 or 4 doesn't really matter for me for this specific project. Okay, it's already 11:30, so it's we how we did. How long did we
two
do
and
today?
2.5 hour.
No, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Two
Yeah.
2 hours and 10 minutes. So thank you everybody that watched. Thank you so much everybody that asked questions and was involved in the chat room. Thank you so much for the questions. I hope you find the answers satisfying and you took something from them, some value. We really appreciate you guys watching and being here. Be sure to follow on the blog. Be sure to follow on Twitter. I will also post my Twitter. And oh shit. All right, so I'll also post my Twitter. Oh, my Twitter bio is still old, so I just noticed that. So I'm gonna have to change my Twitter bio. So I'll change my Twitter bio later. But yeah, so follow on Twitter, follow on Medium. Make sure you know when we streaming next. Thank you for joining and have a good night. Good night, Steven. Thank you.
Good night.